Hello, everybody, and welcome to our regular council meeting starting here at 4:30. A little reminder that we're live streaming this on the Drumheller Valley YouTube channel. All right, so we're calling it to order, and it is 4:30. So, do we have any? What are our opening comments? Who wants to start? Okay, Deputy Mayor Travis.
First of all, congratulations to the St. Anthony's class of 2026. This weekend, the graduates are celebrating this important milestone and achievements that have brought them to this moment. Best wishes to the entire graduating class as they look ahead to exciting new opportunities and adventures. And also the Red Deer River update. There's water in it. The river levels are currently at 1.67 meters, which is slightly higher than the normal range. Flow rates are at 162 cubic meters per second. Outflows at the Dixon Dam are currently 87 cubic meters per second, with the reservoir at 62% capacity. As of today, the Red Deer River is not on any advisory notice, but we do ask residents to avoid the river banks until the conditions improve.
Thank you for that. Yeah, we don't want to have anyone going in the river because then someone has to get you out. Councillor Kalafa.
I just want to mention Summer in the Plaza is going to return to downtown Drumheller again this summer from July 3rd to April 30th. There's going to be live music, games, family fun events all summer long at the plaza. Go to drumheller.ca and they'll have a list of the artists going forward. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. That should be good. Councillor McNeil.
Yes, well, neighborhood block parties are a fun way to meet your neighbors, build friendships, and create lasting memories right here in Drumheller. Rent the block party trailer and get access to games, activities, and everything you need to bring your neighborhood together. Whether you're planning a small gathering or a street full of fun, we're here to help make it happen. Contact 403-823-1367 or email communityservices@drumheller.ca.
Thank you, Councillor McNeil. It's a good time, that little trailer. Councillor Zritsky.
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone that this week is Seniors Week. There are some people out there who are seniors, I've heard. Very good thank you to all the people that helped out at the Seniors Pancake Breakfast yesterday at the BCF. We had about 100 people. We flipped lots and lots and lots of pancakes. And we had the kindergarten class from Green Tree doing some entertaining, and they were absolutely incredible. And then we fed them afterwards, and it was quite funny because the little guy would come up and we would go, "You want 1 or 2 pancakes?" 4. Okay, so then the next little guy comes up, 1 or 2 pancakes? 4. So anyways, they ate a lot of pancakes, had lots of fun, so it was a very good seniors event. Thank you to all the volunteers who helped out.
Thank you for that. It was fun. And the kids had the watermelon song. It was pretty good. All right, who's next? Councillor Miller.
Camp BCF is now open for registration. Camp BCF offers a summer full of fun, recreation, and adventure for children ages 6 to 12. With weekly themed camps, full-day programming, and convenient early drop-off and late pickup options, it's a great way for kids to stay active and engaged all summer long. For more information or to register online, visit drumheller.ca.
All right, thank you for that. And Councillor Hanson.
Well, here's a good one. Boogie in the Badlands. Those folks put 384 entries together that showed up, which caught him quite off guard. I think they had something like 250 entry papers, and we went way over, which is amazing. We want to thank the Drumheller Valley Cruisers for another excellent event, and all the volunteers that they brought in on doing this event. It takes a lot of work, and they've raised the bar pretty high for themselves for next year. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And of course, a big shout out to Public Works people for getting the barricades and everything out there for them and everything and get it picked up again. We thank you very much and definitely looking forward to next year. It should be interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great show. I think pretty much everybody had a trip around down there, and there was something for everybody. That's for sure. All right, and mine is Canada Day in Drumheller is just around the corner, and it's full on hometown celebration. So come on down, have fun, and everything else that makes the valley roar. We'll keep it local, lively, and packed with unforgettable moments for all ages. There's a full itinerary, and head on over to our website. What's this? Oh, okay. All right, and breaking news. Yeah. Okay. Due to deteriorating road conditions, Roper Road has been temporarily closed to all vehicular traffic on the descending section of on both ways, but on the section of the roadway between Starline and the town of Drumheller. It's effective immediately, and this closure will remain in effect until further notice. They're continuously monitored, and once the weather conditions improve, the crews will be able to safely grade and restore the roadway. It'll be reopened to vehicular traffic at that time. Yeah, it's got quite a big crater cut in it. So you want to avoid going there. It looks like the San Andreas Fault. All right, so we're good with that. So now we got our adoption of the agenda. Is there any additions to our agenda?
Administration does have an addition, an emergent item under closed session. We'd like to add in a CAO update, item 6A.1, please.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I get a motion to adopt our agenda? Councillor Miller?
I move that council adopts the agenda for the June 2nd, 2026 regular council meeting as amended.
Thank you for that. Councillor Zaritsky, second it. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right, and can I get adoption of our minutes from our regular council meeting from May 19th, 2026? Deputy Mayor Hardy? Can I get a seconder? Oh, wait, sorry.
I move that council approves the minutes for the May 19th, 2026 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. And then can I get a seconder? Councillor Kalafa? Thank you. All in favor? Okay, all in favor. All right, motion carried. So on to number 5.1, our delegation of our RCMP for their fourth quarter report.
Pleases council, I'd like to welcome Staff Sergeant Lafleur. He'll be presenting his fourth quarter report to us. And thank you, Chris. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, council members. Would you like me to painfully read the letter, or can I just summarize it? The biggest thing in there is the RCMP's finally adopted a new service pistol for us members. It's going to be the Glock 45 Mod 7. It is not a 45 caliber. It is still a 9mm pistol. It's going to come equipped with optics and a flashlight attached to it. It's going to be a little more, it's going to take more room on their duty belt, but it's going to improve in a lot of factors, and it's a newer pistol than the 30-year-old pistol that I'm currently carrying. Training will take part. K Division is going to be one of the first division to get it, and it's going to go first to frontline officers like myself and my members. The way it's going to work is the members will go in a training session, which will take about a week, at the end of which they'll turn in their old pistol and get the new one issued to them. So unfortunately, I don't have one to show you guys what it'll be, but similar in some aspect to what Calgary Police is carrying presently. Moving on to the priorities for that past quarter. The first one, of course, being crime reduction and prevention of property crime. As has been said for, unfortunately, the last year, the detachment is facing some manpower shortages. We've made headways, but that impacted the way that we were able to meet the commitments. So unfortunately, 2 out of the 4 objectives for property crime were not met, although not by much. To counter some of the issues we had when I came in that last quarter, I start reorganizing the way that the detachment is organized, as well as how we deliver services to try to maximize our efforts and results, if you want. So part of that is reorganizing the way that my admin team is providing service to the public as well as to the members. Part of that involves cross-training. I've identified that there was some shortcomings, if you want, in the knowledge of my admin team in some aspects of the job. So what we're going to be doing is every admin member is going to be taking a turn at every role in the detachment, learning the new aspects so that it doesn't matter if we lose someone, they'll all be trained and we won't feel the loss of someone, for example, quitting the job. One of the aspects of that is it's freeing my officers from some of the admin duties that they're currently doing that's tying up to the desk. My vision is that members, myself included, don't belong behind the desk. We need to be out on the road. So this reorganization is going to basically affect that. We've already seen results. So a lot of the members of the public have approached myself, my members, and basically asked us, what's gotten to you guys? We see you everywhere now. I'm not sure if they mean that in a good way or they'd like to see less of us, but anyway, I'm going to take it the other way. Another thing that I've instituted that seems to be effective is a shift summary report. What that is we have day shift, night shifts. At the end of each shift, one member writes a summary of what happens during the shift. The idea behind that is we keep everybody aware of any new intelligence that comes in, as well as, say, for example, number 1 prolific offender, Joe Smith, is active again and moved back in the area. That's going to be part of that summary. So everybody knows to keep an eye on it or any new crime trends that's developing. So everybody's more aware, where before, if the member went onto a file but didn't tell anyone else, nobody knew. So now we know that. The not so popular aspect of that shift summary for my members, but very popular for me, is I know what they're doing. So when I read the shift summary, and I'm like, okay, well, you've had 2 investigative files today. What did you do the rest of the day? Nothing. Let's have a little chat. Let's see how we can help you get on the road and be more proactive. As well, it tells me which detachment or which area of the detachment they policed. So that if they didn't patrol for a while in, not that it would ever happen, but say Drumheller, I would have a conversation with them saying, okay, now today you need to focus on Drumheller and patrol here, Nakmine or more in any communities. So it keeps me up to date on them as well as to what needs to get done and where we need to be better at. For the year, which Q4 being the report for the final year, basically. So we did 586 offenders check throughout the year. We laid several charges, well, I forget the exact number, but a lot of charges for breaches and so on, trying to get those offenders back in front of a justice or behind bar. We did 7 fraud presentation, 14 property crime reduction initiative, and 15 Operation Street Sweep. which targets people out on warrants. Normally we're basically targeting one a quarter. I'm a big believer in those operations, and we usually partner up with our partner agencies like the peace officers from the town and from the counties, the sheriffs, and then we go and effect those. Priority number 2, public engagement, transparency, visibility. Again, unfortunately, 2 of the measures were barely not met, but 2 others were surpassed. So visibility and community engagement were a big focus this past quarter, with several members of the public commenting favorably on increased police visibility. As I mentioned earlier, people are seeing what I call the Christmas light flashing everywhere, and they're very happy about that. Well, not the person we're behind, but that's another story. Conducted 2 town hall meetings and have reconnected with the citizen on patrols as well as the Rural Crime Watch. I had noticed that we weren't attending the meetings, and to me that was kind of a shortcoming. I've met with their leadership. I've asked them to email me when they have a meetings to make sure that we have a member attending, providing input, as well as getting input from our partners. We're doing weekly press release, or trying to do weekly press releases, which gives the communities a snapshot of what we've done in that past week, as well as if we see a emerging crime trend, we address that through education. The biggest one these days being, of course, the senior romance scam. It doesn't matter how many times we publicize or put something in the paper to warn people. There's still people out there believing that Bill Gates is coming to help them financially, unfortunately. Priority number 3, which was reduce substance abuse. Again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, we had some manpower issues. However, we did find some workaround. It's just limiting. I've had to collapse the General Investigative Service unit back into frontline responding to make up for the frontline response shortages I was facing. Not for all the reporting period, but for a good period of it. As a result, the scope of drug investigation that we could have undertaken was limited. However, we did do 10 focused drug investigations. At that time, in that quarter, we seized $160,000 worth of drugs. I can tell you that in the last 10 days, we seized, in one instance, $250,000 worth of drugs in one shot. So they're back onto their regular duties, proceeding with drug investigation. For the year, we concluded 46 drug investigation, obtained 4 search warrants with a combined result of 943, so just shy of $1 million worth of drugs seized and properties. During that time, that quarter, I made the decision to focus on what was available for the General Investigative Service to be able to, provide, basically. If I didn't want to put too much on them, I wanted straight results. So as a result, they didn't deliver any lectures like as part of their mandate. I focused them on taking drugs off the street. Now that I have more people, and I'll get into it later, we're going to be resuming the lectures, but again, my focus is more reducing harm by taking the drugs off the street. Priority number 4. Is that my cue to go?
Sorry, Staff Sergeant, that's just the 10-minute timer for delegations. However, his worship did give you the green light to continue forward.
Yeah, we don't want to tune in another day on this. Carry on.
Thank you. Priority number 4 was enhanced road safety. So, part of the changes I made, my members are able to spend more time on the road, spreading cheers. As a result, this past quarter, 247 tickets were issued, with 674 tickets issued overall for the year. So we're increasing the number of tickets. However, the tickets is not a true pictures because we're also giving a lot of verbal warnings, if you want. One of the bad things about us being on the road more, as commented by my members, is it's getting harder and harder to find speeders. So, but we're working on it. So two of the measure for road safety fell short, although in one case just by one, in large measure due to, again, to our manpower issues. Moving on to operations and our human resources overview. Some of these numbers are not actually reflective, but at the time they were. So I have 11 established positions as police officers in the detachment. I had 8 working, with 1 that was on paternity leave. He's since back now, with a hard vacancy of 2. This is not true anymore. I did get a experienced officer from Calgary Police that saw the light and came over. He's in depot right now getting trained. He'll be in, undergo some training, and then he'll be fully operational. He's a 12-year member of the Calgary Police. I'm working right now, my plainclothes section or GIS. We have a member from Brooks that was loaned to us to boost our power, if you want. I'm working hard on trying to get him to see the light and come over to the Drumheller detachment. He's been very active. They have a lot of projects going on. I'd like to keep him, which will bring us to full complement. As far as admin support, it says here that we have 3 hard vacancies. That's not true. What we have is I have 4 positions for admin, 3 of which are municipal employees. However, we created a while back public service employee position that we decided to leave on the book in case we ever proceed with switching municipal employees to public service employees. But for now, it's a dead issue. Okay. And any question?
Any questions? Councilor Zaritsky.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I guess I'm, first of all, a little bit amazed at how much you guys are doing, depending on the shortage of manpower. Like I'm very impressed with all the drug charges and confiscation and that kind of stuff, which is tremendous. I guess I'm wondering, considering I've been on council for many, many, many years, and we have always, and that is like 99% of the time, been short of members in the detachment. And I guess I'm just wondering if maybe council has a role in advocating for this detachment. Maybe the mayor needs to be sending a letter to the head of the RCMP in Alberta or whatever. Well, you know, Eric is going to write it. You don't have to write it. You know what I'm saying is that we are chronically short of staff here, and maybe it's time for council to maybe step in. Do you think that's what council could be doing or should be doing, or are we wasting our time, or are we supposed to stay out of that, or what do you think?
No. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are paying us, and you know you're entitled to get what you're paying for. And I will never say no to more members. Obviously, 5 or 6 more would be great. But no, I don't think you'd be wasting your time. I think it would be helpful. Keeping in mind, though, that every police force across Canada, and unfortunately, sounds like around the world, is struggling to attract people. A lot of the new people that we're getting are looking at, can I work in, you know, what's the best schedule? Where can I work in a big city or something like that? So those some of the deterrents. I can tell you that I'm working extremely hard to try to attract members, and district is as well. I've got a line on a couple of officers that I'd like to get here, the one that I mentioned, and somebody else whose sister is now teaching at one of the local high school here. So I'm kind of using that as a come on over. Don't let your sister be by herself. I'm hoping it's going to pan out, but unfortunately, right now I only have so many positions. One of the things that we're trying to establish is once we get that constable position filled and we're fully staffed, another thing that I'd like to do is add an additional position for a sergeant. What that would do is it would create a path that, because for some reason, all my members here, and they've all told me this, none of them want to leave. They want to stay in Drumheller for basically their whole career, which is nice for the town. I mean, it's probably not realistic, but they don't want to leave. So right now, there's a gap in between. You can go from constable to corporal, and then if you want to promote to sergeant, you got to leave the area. So I have a great corporal, three great corporals, I should say. I don't want to, but one in particular that was the acting detached commander is ready to be a sergeant to proceed on. For him to do that, he's got to leave the area. He doesn't want to. So adding an additional position as a sergeant create that path that none of them have to leave because they can stay in the area. That is something that maybe the council could look at and pursue. But that would be helpful. But any help that you guys can extend obviously will assist the detachment, and we'd be thankful for that.
Just a couple of other things. So you mentioned in your report that it's a little bit difficult to pick up all the speeders in town. And we have noticed, of course, that by law our peace officers are doing a fair amount of that. And I'm just wondering, do you coordinate with Greg in terms of, you're saying your guys are busy doing a couple of important cases, whatever. Could bylaw, do a little bit more of the speeding? Do you guys kind of talk back and forth that way?
We do to some extent, yeah. We
Yeah,
talk.
if I could add, no, we exchange information. We talk all the time, the staff sergeant and myself, but we could have a member assigned to traffic duty and that could change just as the staff sergeant could have a member assigned on the basis of an incoming call or can change the setup for one day because of the nature of one or two calls coming in. But no, we do exchange a lot of information and we do have a pretty good idea what within reason and the law, what each is doing.
One of the initiative that I put forth and I sought council approval the last time was the overtime traffic shifts. So once a month, I bring in a member on overtime. His job is to strictly do traffic enforcement. Although I still need more time to fully assess the value of it, it's been extremely predictive so far. The target I set for those members is $3,000 worth of ticket, which is way more than what the overtime cost is. I'm limiting them right now to the town of Drumheller. Half the tickets that is being generated goes back to the town. So it's either zero cost or revenue to the town, but it has a good effect on that aspect if you want. And I'm also doing joint operation with the sheriffs again to promote that.
Just one last comment. I know in the past we've had bicycle patrols. Just wondering, is there any plans for that this summer? I know they've been, the comments that I got were they were fairly effective in the parks and places like that. So I'm just wondering, any plans for that for the summer?
Yes, so right now I only have one member that's trained in bike patrol. Unfortunately for us, everything is a course, so I need to send people on a bike course. I know a lot of people have been wanting to see me in spandex. I don't know why, but I'm not the member. That's not going to happen. So yes, we are working on that. We're also going to help with a bike rodeo for the children to teach bike safety as well.
Councillor Kalafa.
Thank you for the presentation. Just to clarify, the sergeant position you're kind of exploring, are you actually looking to create another FTE or just a position or rank within the same?
It would be
manpower?
it wouldn't be a substitute. No, it would be like established position. In my 5-year financial plan, I added that position and I believe it was sent to the town for reviews. But it would be an established position. It would be the ups and CO position. That person would also hit the road the same as we all do as well.
I got a question. So you just started wearing those body cameras, correct?
A few months back, yeah.
Right. Okay. Now I see in Calgary they got those body cameras that have a translator on them as well. Do you have a translator on yours?
To answer your question, I work for the federal government. That costs money, and they're not going to spend the money. At this point, no, I haven't. We don't have that service. And as far as I know, there's no immediate plan to give us that. What we do have, however, is there's a list maintained by our operators of the language skill of every member working. So, for example, if somebody in Banff is pulling over or talking to somebody and speaking French and nobody around speaks French, they know that I speak French. They'll get a hold of me on the phone and I will talk with the person. And that's for Korean or any other language. So we've had that in place for a while. I wish we had that, but not at this point, sorry.
Yeah, no, I saw it was a brand new thing they're bringing in, but I thought with your summaries that you're talking about there, that might be a way for you to just voice over to the summaries. They could just voice over and print it, is what I was thinking. So when they come to you, if they ever say anything, you can try and sell it on that.
Well, I
No,
don't want
and
to spend your
thanks.
money.
Thanks. I think we've really noticed a difference in the feel of things around here in the last little while, the last couple months for sure. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of getting things organized and going in the right direction, which is what we're all looking for. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. All right. Anybody got anything else? Councilor Miller?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a couple of questions about the update that you provided with us. One is with regards to the offender compliance checks. There were 586 of them done. Were those done by RCMP or by parole officers?
By us, RCMP. So I don't have access to the parole officers' data as far as how many they do. These are strictly ours. And that is part of the shift summary. I don't have a life. I have my phone 24/7. So as soon as those shift summary come in, I know exactly what they did. Part of that is how many enforcement did you do and how many checks have you completed. So on average now we're doing 7 a night throughout the whole region. But yes, that's just us.
Alrighty, thank you. And then also I noticed on the table that you provided the domestic violence, it's called spousal violence here. I see that's gone up quite a bit, and I'm just wondering if there's anything we can be doing or are doing about that.
No, I mean, unfortunately for us, like our definition of spousal violence or domestic violence, I mean, they're all the same things, different terms, is things that we all do, right? Like if you have an argument with your wife, doesn't have to be yelling or anything. It's um, a disagreement. We count it as domestic violence or spousal violence, or so any disagreement, disharmony for us is a domestic. So we do have, yes, we do have the physical violence, and what we picture in our mind as being domestic violence, but it's sometimes we're not really. I mean, who hasn't argued with their spouse over, the other person spending too much money on God knows what? For us, we count that as a spousal.
Is that a different way of reading it from before? Because it did. There is quite a spike on that issue. There is a noticeable spike.
No, one of the reasons for that is that, and you're going to see some of our crime index going up, is I'm changing things the way that things were reported on our system. In a lot of cases, like some members would say, well, it's just a breach of peace because it would save them, I hate to say it, but in some cases it would save them work. There's less paperwork involved. When I saw that, I put a stop to that. I want things reported the way that they should be. So it is not a breach of peace. It is unfortunately a spousal and complete the paperwork. So that's why you're seeing those numbers as well. In a lot of cases, and I'll give you another example, suspicious person. Well, technically, we're only allowed a certain percentage of those types of call. So if we get called out at 4 in the morning to go to, a suspicious person, well, what is the nature of the suspicious? It's a mischief because they're trying to break into a vehicle. Well, then call it what it is. It's a mischief. It's a break and enter, not just a suspicious person. So you're going to see in the next little while our numbers going up for that reason. The reason I'm doing that is a couple of reasons. The first one and the foremost is the more that our numbers are reflective of what we're doing, the easier it is for me to come to you and to the RCMP leadership and say, based on what we're having, based on our workload, we need more members to be effective. So, but foremost, it is a true picture of what's happening in the community, which I believe you should have.
You're basically talking like, in industry, we call it an incident reporting pyramid.
Yes,
So the more you get in there, the more reports, and eventually comes to an actual incident, right? So,
yes.
and if you can prevent them before you get there, no, that's good. I get where you're going with that. It's a different way of looking at it. That's all.
Yeah.
Right on. Anything else, Councillor McNeil?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a question with respect to the crime statistics. And when I was looking at the report for January to March of 2022 to 2026, and then I noted under Mental Health Act, there were 38 listed for 26. So is that a similar case where some of these are then kind of being reclassified? Is that why this number is up so high?
Unfortunately, not. Mental health is we've always classified, like be it a Form 10 or different other things. We haven't changed the way those are being reported because they're very straightforward. Unfortunately, we're seeing an increase in mental health. Be it that threats of suicide, for example, fall under mental health, so they're being reported that way as well. We've had a lot of those lately. I'm not sure if it's this summer or anything that's happening, but it's across the board in most attachments. We're all seeing increases in that.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'm sorry to hear that.
Anything else from anyone else? Councillor Kalapa.
Just, I wasn't sure if I had heard or not. We have set our priorities for this coming year on what we are going to be the focus. Are they mirroring what we've got here, or?
They're very similar, like looking at everything. And I did send something to True Greg and the CEO what I was recommending. I thought I received a signed letter, but I could be mistaken, that you guys were approving them. But they're basically 4 priorities. Again, drugs, property crime, traffic, and visibility. So based on what I'm looking at and looking the whole year, the kind of service that we've had, cost for service, that's what stood up. Obviously, no surprise, road safety being the number one, drugs and property crime are the big drivers of everything. Property crime being a driver of the drug and vice versa. So, yes.
Mr. Peters.
Mr. Mayor, Staff Sergeant, there really is, and not to be lurid, there is only one really reliable statistic reported across police forces, and that's homicide. Police forces will chronically report things differently than perhaps the RCMP may do something different than Calgary City Police will. Chris mentioned a suspicious person, but that may well have been a break and enter suspect or something else. So sometimes the perception and what hits the operational reporting sheets are, and I've been through this extensively years ago when I was a police officer, but again, there is only one really reliable statistic between provincial police in Ontario, perhaps, Lower Mainland, Surrey City Police, RCMP, Calgary, Regina City, and that is homicide. There's no other way to report a homicide but a homicide. But a broken window, a break and enter, a suspicious person, even somebody under the Mental Health Act can be reported differently and processed differently. And it gets very complicated and kind of convoluted, but that's what I'm trying to get across is the only real study I've seen with any reliability on this was a British study on statistics in developed countries, police forces in developed countries, and how this was reported. And this is quite a while ago, but this is how this came to my attention. When I was on a major crimes course years ago, and I happened to find this study, but it's very, very interesting. And that's really the only reliable cross-force statistic that we can compare reliably. But anyway, it's just interesting. Thanks.
Another numbers that you didn't mention, but that is going up is sexual assault. That doesn't mean that we have a spat of sexual assault in the community and we have predators. The latest trend now is we're investigating sex assault or alleged sex assault, I should say, that happened like 30, 40 years ago. So of course, you're going to see the numbers increase because we're involved in those investigations. So most of the sex assault that we are looking at are extremely dated, but they're still reflective.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? I think that's pretty good synopsis there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Can I get a motion from somebody here for Councillor McNeil?
I move that council accepts the RCMP 25-26 fourth quarter report presentation as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Zarisky. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, Chris. Yep. All right. On to reports from admin. Do we have anything? Nothing? Not good? Okay. All right. So now I'm on to the proclamation.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So administration is bringing forward today a request for a Seniors Week proclamation. Specifically, Seniors Week in Alberta is an opportunity to say thank you to the seniors who contribute, work, reside, and age in the community they love and call home. 2026 is the 40th anniversary of recognizing seniors provincially and municipally via an official proclamation. And attached to the report is a copy of the proclamation information, and administration is requesting, as this is in line with Pillar 2 of our strategic plan, developing a healthy and thriving community, that council approves the issuance of this proclamation today. Thank you.
Can I get a motion for that? Deputy Mayor Hardy.
I'll move that council approves the issuance of a proclamation recognizing Seniors Week in the town of Drumheller during June 1st to the 7th, 2026.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Miller. All in favor? Motion carried. Okay, now it is. Hear ye, hear ye. All right, our proclamation for our Seniors Week from June 1st to 7th, 2026. Our resolution is, whereas since 1986, Alberta has recognized Seniors Week, and this year marks the 40th anniversary of the event. And whereas we honor the contributions of seniors in our community through their active participation, volunteer work, and their presence among us. And whereas seniors are great mentors and resources to younger generations in our community. And whereas the experiences and knowledge of seniors possess in our community help us to learn from the past and move forward as a community. And whereas Seniors Week is an opportunity to say thank you to the seniors who contribute, work, reside, and age in the community they all love and call home. Now, therefore, Be it resolved that I, Tony Miglis, Mayor of the Town of Drumheller, do hereby proclaim June 1st to 7th, 2026 as Seniors Week in the town of Drumheller. Woo! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great week, seniors. All right. Okay, so now we're on to 6.1.2. Mrs. Campbell.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this one today, we do have repealing bylaw number 18.26 for first, second, and third reading. Specifically, this repealing bylaw has to do with our province back on June 11th, 2025. They repealed the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and replaced it with the Access to Information Act, or ATIA, and the Protection of Privacy Act, or POPA. Therefore, administration is presenting proposed bylaw 02.99 and 15.99 repealing bylaw number 18.26 to repeal those two bylaws as they are now invalid legislation. Those are now being transitioned, their subject matter is being transitioned to our new privacy management program policy, which will be coming up here shortly in our meeting. So specifically, the two bylaws that we are repealing with this bylaw is, again, the Access to Information Administrative Fees for Services bylaw number 02.09. This bylaw establishes processes and fees for access to information in the custody and control of the town of Drumheller. Processes for access to information are now going to be addressed through our town's privacy management program. The second one is the Access to Information bylaw number 15.99, which had designated the CAO as the head of the town pursuant to the FOIP Act and refers to fees for services payable in accordance with FOIP. The designation of the head pursuant to ATIA and PAPA will be incorporated through an amendment to the CAO bylaw, which we have coming up as well at our meeting today. Strategic policy alignment. This update is in line with pillar number 1, providing sustainable services, where Drumheller, we ensure municipal services are sustainable, predictable, transparent, and supported by a resilient organization and long-term financial plan. Our public participation strategy is that the public will be informed of this change on our website once our privacy management program has been implemented. So administration is recommending, given this is a bit of a housekeeping bylaw, that we do all 3 readings today. Thank you.
Councillor Kalafa.
I move the council give first reading to repealing bylaw 18.26 as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor McNeil. Thank you for that. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right. Can I get a Deputy Mayor Hardy?
I move that council give second reading to the repealing bylaw number 18.26 as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Hanson. All in favor? Thank you. All right, and then third, Councillor Mill. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I move the council gives unanimous consent for third reading of repealing bylaw number 18.26.
Okay, all in favor then? Okay, I'm gonna just think. Okay, Councillor Kalafa. All right, now, all in favor? Okay. These 1, 2, 3s. Okay, so, and then we need a third one, the third and final. Councillor McNeil.
I move that council gives third and final reading of repealing bylaw number 18.26 as presented.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Hanson. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Well, those ones were, one was 1999 and one was 2009. They're done. Onward. Our next is our amending bylaw. This is our CAO amending bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this is our CAO amending bylaw number 19.26 for first and second reading today. So administration is proposing amendments to our CAO bylaw number 21.21 that designates the CAO as the head of the town in accordance with the ATIA and POPA Act now instead of our FOIP Act. A brief review of the bylaw has identified other updates, which are also incorporated into today's proposed CAO amending bylaw. It is also reflected in the consolidation bylaw, which is in Appendix B. One of the things, in addition to the part of the reason why there is a bit of a beef up on the content of this, too, is that the province has passed, it did give royal assent to Bill 28, which was the Municipal Affairs and Housing Statutes Amendment Act. And when that came into play on May 14th of this year, it did change a few things for administrations, specifically around a term called, among other things, the natural person powers, which the CAO exercises in their role as the head of administration. So with that change that they've done, there is reporting requirements that would now have to take into effect, where when the CAO exercises natural person powers, I would have to provide a written report to council within 14 days of exercising that power. So for example, what is a natural person power? It's defined as the basic legal authorities that allow municipalities to act like individuals, including entering contracts, hiring staff, or taking legal action. Entering contracts could be as simple as a purchase contract of purchasing office supplies, for example, to the lowest denominator, all the way up to entering into a contract for a tender award where you're doing a larger capital project. So what the legislation did is they did build in the opportunity for exceptions by stating that the exceptions that when a CAO uses these powers outside of existing bylaws or council resolutions, that's when I have to provide those reports to council. So what we're doing is we've taken all of those powers that are identified within the MGA or the Municipal Government Act, and we're providing those words within the bylaw now. So a lot of these additions that you'll see in here are words that are coming straight out of the MGA. So the following changes are being proposed by administration to the bylaw. Instead of going through each one of these here, I figure I'll just go through I'll bring up the consolidation bylaw version, and we can just go through that instead of just referring to numbers. But the other thing I wanted to add before we do that is administration did also update the bylaw structure and the format to our current template designs. And we did correct some minor grammatical errors that didn't alter the intent of or the substance of the bylaw. So with that, I'm just going to scroll down to Appendix B. So we did add in a couple of new definitions under Section 2 definitions, specifically the ATIA and the POPA Acts are now instituted in there. The other thing we did is we split out the definition of policy to be both administrative policy and council policy, which is now just clearer that both exist and what is an administrative policy versus a council policy. On that note, just as a heads up, G under that section 2.1, will be removed before third reading because that is the previous definition. It didn't have it, the two split out. So we just, we missed deleting that in the notations. Section 3, there was an indemnify clause, which is standard practice, which was missing in our bylaw. 4.3, just as wordings that are now matching with the MGA. General powers and duties under section 5. Just a little clarity on that it's the CAO who would be absent for up to 4 weeks and when an acting CAO would be required. Just some wording changes there. Same with C is establishing the structure of the administration. So that just provides a bit more clarity on what that means. I shows a reflection of council policies and administrative policies. I.1 establishes and implements all administrative policies, procedures, standards, guidelines for all matters within the powers of the CAO. Again, just added clarity here. Under section 7, A.1, this section was missing where we're now just adding it in. Again, the CAO does retain the services of any individual or corporation for purposes related to operations of the town, aka I enter into agreements with individuals and corporations to provide services. And I do this without exceeding the amounts dictated within our annual budget as approved by council. And then moving on to I, we did just clarify because sometimes it's not a mayor or council, it's a mayor or any other person authorized by council. Sometimes there is those things for negotiable instruments. For example, when council has authorized a person in a designated officer position, they've, like we currently have with Mr. Drumheller, he has the authority within that bylaw that designated him into that position to have that other negotiable instruments clause, which is in that triple I item. And then the IV comment on the one payroll check to cover the payroll account. That is something that was a historical item that used to be in place, but we don't follow that process anymore because we do EFTs. And then just the clarity under section 8 that we're referring to a ATIA and POPA access and privacy coordinator now instead of a FOIP coordinator. And that's all of our changes. Any questions?
Councillor Miller.
Thank you through the chair. I just wanted to thank administration for changing up the format. It's so much neater and easier to read, and it looks so much more professional now than with everything being in a different format. And I noticed on 8.2A, it says CAO is authorized to accept services of all notices and other documents on behalf of the town, and it should be on behalf of the town. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you very much.
Good one. Anybody else got anything else? Councillor Kalafa.
Just in the whole section of 7 and talking about contracts and such, one of the notes that we have new in here is all necessary documents required for the provision of such services. Are we talking about that being within our purchasing policies? Is that sort of what that's to, or do we need to note our purchasing policies in this?
So you're referencing A.1.
7, contracts and agreements. 7 point, yeah, A sub 1.
Correct. All necessary documents required for the provision of such services. That's correct. So is there the procurement policy would be an example of a necessary document. If there was a requirement for insurance, for example, liability insurance, and confirmation of that liability insurance being in place, that would be something else. If there was a requirement for core certification by the contractor or the provider, that would be an example of a necessary document.
So our policies that we follow would be implicit within that. I'm fine with that.
That's correct. Thank you.
Councillor McNeil?
Yes, thank you for this. I think it's excellent what you have done. I was just had a question, and this was in regards to the CAO's appointment as the returning officer for the purposes of the Local Authorities Election Act. Are you still able then to perhaps authorize someone else to be the returning officer? I'm just not clear on that.
Through the chair, thank you for that. It's actually, we are moving towards utilizing the CAO as when we refer to any position or any specific position in our bylaws moving forward or our policies, you're going to see the CAO in everything instead of, say, a director role or a specific role other than the CAO. And part of the reason for that is if you look under the definition of CAO, it means the person appointed or their designate. So by doing this, when, for example, we do reorganizations and say we change a title of a position, we don't have to go and change the legislation and the policy or the bylaws in order to do that. So by doing this blanket statement, instead what we've instituted just in the last few months is I do delegation orders to those specified positions. So with those delegation orders, even though the bylaw and the policy says, for example, that I am the returning officer, which is what it says in the MGA, I can delegate that to someone.
Excellent, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councillor Kalafa?
Just for clarification, that's what number 4.2 is allowing, I guess.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Any other questions? No questions? Get a motion then? Councillor Kalafa?
I'll move the council gives first reading to CAO amending bylaw 19.26 as presented.
Thank you for that. Any seconder? Councillor McNeil? Thank you. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right. So now we'll get the second reading for that one. Councillor Miller?
I move that council give second reading to CAO amending bylaw 19.26 as presented.
Thank you for that. Get a seconder on that. Deputy Mayor Hardy? All in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right. On to our, is this privacy management now, or am I on? Yes. On to 6.1.4, privacy management program, policy PO 526C.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on June 11th, 2025, the Alberta, again, as mentioned, FOIP Act was repealed and replaced by the ATIA and the POPA Act by the province of Alberta. The new legislation requires public bodies to establish a privacy management program by June 11th, 2026. Administration is presenting our privacy management program policy, number P0526C, attached in Appendix A for Council's consideration and approval in order to ensure our compliance by the timeline. The Privacy Management Program policy establishes the town of Drumheller's PMP that provides a framework for how the town governs and protects personal information. The PMP will consist of numerous required administrative protocols and procedures that define roles, responsibilities, processes, and safeguards to ensure personal information is collected, used, disclosed, and retained appropriately while effectively managing privacy risks and ensuring compliance with ATIA and POPA. The ATIA establishes rights for people to access records that are in the custody or control of public bodies, subject to limited and specific exceptions. The public is entitled to request access to records maintained by the town of Drumheller as a public body, and also has the right to view any personal information the town holds about a person. POPA establishes privacy rights for Albertans concerning personal information. It also permits public bodies to collect, use, or disclose personal information in new ways, including for data matching and to create non-personal data. POPA outlines conditions under which non-personal information can be generated, used, or shared by public bodies. Under the legislation, a person has the right to request updates or corrections to personal details held by the town. Additionally, if a person believes their personal information was collected, used, or shared improperly, they may file a privacy complaint. To ensure compliance, requirements are met. Once the too many acronyms. Privacy Management Program components have been developed, administration will establish and implement an internal training and awareness campaign. Our PMP staff training will be completed annually and updated annually moving forward. With the adoption of this policy, the following policies, which are provided in Appendix B through E, will be repealed as they are based on obsolete provincial legislation, being the FOIP legislation, and given that this has now been transitioned to this new policy and the accompanying privacy management program protocol binder, which will have all of the wonderful details in it. There are no financial implications to this policy, as this is a mandatory requirement, and all of the time associated with creating these documents and consulting support is included in our 2026 operating budget. Our strategic policy alignment, this policy is in line with Pillar 1, providing sustainable services, where Drumheller ensures municipal services are sustainable, predictable, transparent, and supported by a resilient organization and long-term financial planning. Public participation strategy, administration will inform the public of the privacy management program through regular updates to the town website. We will have a dedicated section of our website focused on privacy management, how we manage it, and how the public can access information and make these requests. Administration is recommending that council adopts the privacy management program policy number P0526C as presented. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's quite a lot there. I'm just wondering, I don't know, is there anybody else have questions? I'm just looking at it and thinking about how and what, I guess, or how would they access and what would be the trigger to make this, accessible for somebody. This is the way I'm looking at it. I know it's new to you, but.
So currently, up until now, we had freedom of information access requests coming through. What this process does and this new legislation is it actually adds in more rules and quite frankly, more red tape to the process. For example, there's the access request side where people will be able to still put in requests. However, there's more stringent information on what can and cannot be requested or previously FOIP'd. So it's the amount of information we provide is more limited now as well. There's a lot more process associated with it on administration side. For example, previously when we would have delegations come forward, we would list the name of the person in the report. We can't do that anymore because their name is personal information. So there is another level of scrutiny when it comes to doing the confirmations of what we can and cannot share as a public record, as for example, an agenda package. So there's more disclosures, more disclaimers, sorry, that we have to provide on all of the information that we request or forms that we complete. It's a very large undertaking that compared to what it was before. Our legislative services coordinator had attended the Alberta Municipal Clerks Association's conference, where there was a large amount of concern about this deadline and being able to get everything in place by this deadline. And straight out municipalities saying we cannot do this with municipal affairs in the room. So it is quite the large new process that they've put on all municipalities, for sure.
Yeah, I see that's a 1999 policy, so it's 27 years old, and I'm sure they've probably figured out a lot more things to put in there. I just wondered about how easy the access was and everything like that. So if it's more, I guess that would be the thing that people would be interested to hear is it's not, we're not selling our information to the, what do you call it, things for Facebook there, the algorithms. Anybody else have any other questions? Councillor McNeil.
I just want some clarity then in terms of what the CAO was saying. So through the chair, so what you mentioned, when someone makes a presentation, their name could not be then public in that agenda package. Is that correct?
So through the chair, that is correct. If it's personal information, unless we have a specific waiver that says I waive the inclusion of my personal information in XYZ, we cannot do that. If it's the name of a company, we can. We would have to redact the information from the reports that we bring forward.
Okay, so then thank you for that. What I'm thinking about then, with the recording on YouTube, would the person's name be announced for the YouTube recording?
Through the chair, you mean for the delegation process?
Yes, correct.
If the person says it themselves, that is totally at their disclosure. If the delegation form, which we have to take a look at along with all the forms, if it provides a statement or a sign off that says that they're okay with sharing that information, they approve that, they've given that permission for that purpose, then we'll be okay. So the level of documentation that we now have to have in place for everything and anything to do with any personal information is just a lot higher.
Thank you for that clarity. I appreciate that.
And this is all have to be in there by June 11th.
Through the chair, that is correct. Just to help maybe give a little bit more clarity, I'll just confirm if our Ledge Services Coordinator, Angela Kybel, if you have any other additional information you want to share.
Oh, did she sign off?
Thank you. Through the chair, I just wanted to clarify that For example, when people submit an application to appear as a delegation, they are informed that anything they submit will be published in a council agenda. And it also says right on our website that all delegations are recorded and live streamed to the public, and that is considered notice for people in terms of this privacy legislation. And we are updating anytime somebody submits through a form, we have updated the collection notices and are doing so in our forms review. It's a comprehensive project which all public bodies are going through. I'm and my colleagues across the province have all expressed it's difficult to meet this deadline, and there is a high percentage of municipalities and public bodies that are unable to meet it due to gaps in staffing and other resources in light of all the legislation changes in the past 18 months that have affected public bodies, specifically municipalities.
I imagine that'd be a huge undertaking, trying to get everything turned around and get all that. Anybody else got any questions for her while we got her on the hot seat? Thank you, Angela. Appreciate that. All right. So can I get a motion, Councilor Zaritsky?
Yeah, I move the council adopts the Privacy Management Program Policy number P0526C as presented.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councilor Hanson. All right, all in favor? Okay, motion carried. All right, now on to our repeal of Police Advisory Committee Policy C0122.
Thank you, Your Worship. On May 19th, 2026, Council adopted our new Council Committee bylaw number 34.25, which included a terms of reference for the Drumheller Policing Advisory Committee, which is provided in Appendix A. With that adoption, the previous Police Advisory Committee policy has been superseded and must be repealed. So our report today is just to repeal that now obsolete policy. This is in line with our strategic pillar. Number 2, Drumheller will deliver infrastructure, services, and partnerships that support health, safety, mobility, recreation, and overall quality of life for residents. And our public participation strategy, this policy will be removed from our website. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions? Councilor Miller?
Thank you. Through the chair, I was looking at our new policing bylaw and I noticed that there's mention of the committee and the chair, but there's no mention of who the chair is or how the chair is established. And I'm just wondering if that's something that should be in there.
Through the chair, so you're referring to the terms of reference that's currently in the committee bylaw? So the Appendix A? Okay. So how the chair is actually chosen is your comment, correct? So 3.1 establishes the committee. However, how the chair is chosen or designated is not here. So what happens is, and I'm not sure, I'd have to double check, but if the mayor is a member, he is by default, he would be the chair of the committee, but we'll have to look into that. Either way, we would have to amend the actual committee bylaw in order to update that terms of reference. So that is something that we can flag and take a look at for sure. Thank you.
with all those other things they're looking at. Counselor Zaritsky, you got a question?
Yeah, just regarding the membership, I'm wondering if we have straightened that out. Because it says currently here, I mean, a resident of the town for 6 consecutive months. And then another place it says live or operate a business within the town boundaries. Well, live or operate a business, so that means somebody doesn't have to reside here if they operate a business. And then 3.1 again, it just said 7 citizens, members who work or reside in Drumheller. So again, do they have to reside in Drumheller, or if they work in Drumheller and live in Carbon? I don't know. It just seemed, I went through it and it seemed kind of contradictory in a number of ways in terms of who can be a member. Do we want people to be residents? Or can they be non-resident if they own a business? It just seemed unclear. I imagine you've straightened that out.
Through the chair, I will defer to Mr. Peters to see if he has some information to provide.
No, we'll have to look at that. I think in the interpretation from the old bylaw into the new terms of reference, perhaps there's been. So yeah, I have no good answer except we will look at it and see what corrections can be made.
Any other questions?
Just to help, I did just get a quick update that the council committee bylaw does specifically state that the chair is to be chosen from the members at large unless otherwise specified by the terms of reference. So it's in the general one, so it doesn't have to be in the terms of reference.
Anything else? Anyone else? Going once? Okay, can I get a motion then? Deputy Mayor Hardy.
I move that council repeals Police Advisory Committee Policy number C-01-22.
Thank you for that. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Hanson. All in favor? Motion carried. All right, so that's that for there. Now we're moving on. Oops. It's not even 6 o'clock and we're moving on to closed session. All right, can I get a motion to go into closed session? Councillor Zaritsky.
Yeah, I move that council closes the meeting to the public at 5:53 p.m. to discuss CAO update as per ATIA 29, advice from officials.
Thank you for that. Seconder, Councillor Miller. Thank you. All in favor? Kate, all in favor? Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching. Stay away from the water. And if you see anybody sending you things from, if you see anyone sending things from me to you saying, go buy me a bunch of gift cards, don't do it. It's not me. Okay, thank you.